I just press this.
Okay. Oh. Okay, here we are. Now the unique thing about this, good morning, sir,
How you doing?
is that this is unfolding in our... How do you begin with this?
Kindly meet the Rolls-Royce boat tail.
So it's called the boat tail.
It is, yes, and all will become clear as we go through the car, but a modern interpretation of the historic boat tail body style.
I mean, it's quite literally a rowed yacht, isn't it?
There's certainly a sort of nautical influence.
Unbelievable. How long have you been working on this for?
It's been sort of 4 years since the first client discussions, let's say.
Okay.
I mean, you know the brand very, very well, and we proudly stand behind a commission model. That is to say that the end result is very much guided by the client in terms of definition, and we don't necessarily always know where that's going to take us. And in this instance, some marvelous clients of ours.
Did this start at a similar time to Sweptail, or did it come off the back of that project?
It was, let's say, Sweptail somehow I think worked almost as a catalyst in the sense that Sweptail also equally born out of this notion that we work to a commission model, but I think on revealing Sweptail, everybody almost understood a new watermark in terms of where you can progress to. Clients are extraordinary, but somehow within that group exists individuals who seek so much more than just the motor cars that we produce, and they seek that opportunity to curate and to commission, and that was really the start point for the preliminary discussions and the preliminary designs that led us in the direction of this wonderful motor car.
How long is this thing?
It's just over 5.7 meters, so as I mentioned, sort of generous. But hopefully, as you can recognize, and it's something we really did labor over, is that it's really the proportion and the scale that does the talking. Mm-hmm. That's where this sort of sense of impact and almost demonstration of the kind of presence of, especially in this space that cars are almost sort of defined by this metric of more is more. It's more differentiation, it's kind of hyper characterization, whereas we really wanted to exercise almost a newfound level of restraint, and you can see just the cleanliness of the surfaces, the purity of the lines, and also the fidelity of the form. I mean, remarkably, the car is all fashioned from sheet aluminium. It's hammer formed, and
really?
That allows us to do amazing things, things that we would never normally be allowed to achieve through industrialized techniques. So you can just see the general clarity of line and surface and precision.
It's incredibly smooth, isn't it?
It really is.
Incredibly so.
It really is. Unfortunately, a lot of modern design is littered with almost superfluous detail.
Yes.
And we really wanted to break away from that. And actually, I think you sit in front of the most progressive element to the overall concept, and that's of course the treatment of our iconic Pantheon grille. The first time ever, it's not this sort of appliqued trophy applied to the front of the car. It's really deconstructed into its component elements to inform not just the structure but the visual representation at the front of the car. The contrast color waterfalling over beautifully into the grille space itself, and even the atrium of our Pantheon grille is the grille that really demonstrates that in a very clear way.
When a client comes to you with this, why do you start with this? Because it seems like, so am I right in thinking, is everything about this bespoke from ground up?
Absolutely, yes.
So this isn't a shared chassis or anything like that?
The chassis is derived from our aluminium architecture. And of course, as you can tell by way of the scale, it has a lot of similarities with the Phantom lineage. And there are some componentry, particularly on the interior, that is very obviously recognizable for good reason from the main portfolio. But the exterior form, as you can see it here, is completely unique. And every single body panel and a lot of the complexity that we'll get into, especially at the rear end, has all been designed and developed uniquely for this concept. For only 3 cars, which is,
Wow.
really, really astounding.
I guess other than on Black Badge, I don't necessarily associate carbon fiber heavily with Rolls-Royce. To see this massive section here that's basically forged out of carbon is stunning.
But for very good reasons, you know, it's actually for its structural rigidity, particularly in this rear area. It actually defines this whole upper structure of the rear of the car, and also then provides the basis for some of this complex movement. The pannier, we describe this area as almost the rear hosting area, and there's a lovely link also back to the personality of the clients, in the sense that we were very fortunate through the development process to spend quite a lot of time in their company, and they were just the most generous hosts. You know, they were just wonderful, wonderful people to spend time with, and we really felt that spirit should somehow live in the car, and almost that we always think, for me at least, Rolls-Royce, in terms of its sensibility, and I think it's a typically British quality, that it's almost, it's there to serve, you know, it's there to very, very respectfully and very dutifully fulfill the requirements of its owner. And we wanted the car to almost host you here at the rear. So subtle touches, and again, credit to the phenomenal engineers that we worked with, where it's not simply kind of utilitarian provisioning, this really offers itself to you. So the butterfly mechanism, the lid that rotate towards center line, the fact that the panniers then create this inclination so they rotate up to a 15-degree angle, that subtle difference, just as if it's sort of offering itself to you. And even these beautiful picnic tables, you know, they rotate round, so they move from this sort of flush-fitted condition.
Oh my good Lord, that is absolutely gorgeous, isn't it?
It really is, and it's a beautiful thing to use. You know, it's lovely weighting, and again, just a real demonstration of ingenuity.
What is quite amazing is its overall profile, super simple, and as soon as you start to look at it, the amount of detail in it, it's crazy. Am I seeing a blue weave in this?
You are, yes. So it's a technical weave.
So it's got a contrasting blue fibre running through the actual carbon weave itself.
Indeed, yes. Yeah. And moreover, we actually also extend it to these beautiful stools, which we again created from the ground up.
I've just noticed that these are carbon stools. If I'd have known that, I would have taken a few steps back before I wandered around the car.
Yes, yeah. No, I mean, training as an automotive designer, I never thought I'd find myself penning a stool. But it's amazing. And here we worked with an Italian furniture maker to create this unique interlocking clamshell design, to create this slimline package that allows you to stow it underneath the pannier.
I love this twist in it. The twist
gorgeous,
in the carbon is stunning.
Really
and
good.
Small details, just, I'm not sure if the camera can see it, but just little, I mean, everything feels billet and beautiful, you know. It's
It really is. It really
gorgeous, gorgeous thing.
The most astounding thing for me with this project really is that it exists. You know, in this day and age, with the general consumption trends that we experience, you know, for not just a marque, but also for customers to impart with so much patience, so much trust, and so much encouragement for us to create something extraordinary. But for us to have the latitude to pen the car that we believe projects the modernity of the brand, you know, and really moves it on. It's not a retrospective fulfillment of creating something unique. It's really about progress, and you could describe it almost as modern patronage. You know, it's really about commissioning the next chapter for this great brand. And then, as your eye wanders onto the interior, you can see again, with the exterior, this sort of reduced, pared back feeling, really allowing the beauty of the materials to do the storytelling. Even the cockpit fascia is relatively simplified. All the technology that we could disguise and remove distraction from have been placed behind, you know, lovely surfaces. And then as a centerpiece is a bespoke timepiece.
I was going to say, run me through that watch.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the tale behind that is almost as extraordinary as the car itself. But the client is, of course, a great aficionado of timepieces and, you know, individually commissioned timepieces, and wanted to create something unique for this car to bring together in his mind his two passions, Rolls-Royce and timekeeping, you know, horology as a discipline. And we worked with Bouvet, the Swiss watch manufacturer, to complete, to our mind, the first ever tourbillon movement applied directly into a car.
So that's embedded into it, as opposed to a removable.
Well, it is actually removable.
There's 3 examples of this being produced. How individual is each one? Does each one have as much of a unique story?
Very much so, yeah. So the only similarity between the three cars is the body style.